Family church is a great way to worship together and to help our children grow in the knowledge and experience of God. But it can be hard to know where to start. It can be hard to know what content to bring or what shape to bring. So in this little video, I'm going to give a suggestion of a structure that you could use and 4 weeks worth of material that you could look at. And then you can take this away and use the bits that you want to use will work for you and for your children and forget the rest. So as a suggestion for a structure for how you could have family church to start with, we find that it works really well doing it around a meal. And Jesus so often ate with his disciples and did lots of stuff with ministry around food. And there's something so welcoming about that. So why not start off your family church time around the table? Have a table, have a nice meal, mark it as being a different time in some way. Maybe you have some special food. Do you always have, I don't know, a special drink with your meal? Something that maybe lighting a candle would be a thing that your children would find special. Look to set it as a different meal in some way. And then start by saying grace, start by saying thank you, and maybe go a bit further than you do normally. You're setting this out as a separate to normal meal time, a sort of special time, a bit like a church service is something different in the week when you press into God in a more intentional way. So maybe as you say grace, also say a couple of things that you're thankful for about the day or the week, and look to gently, as is appropriate with your children, move them in that direction. And then I got a suggestion of some bits of the Bible that we can look at, and I'll come to that in a minute, what they are. So it's great whilst you're sitting around the meal table, that the meal table gives you a kind of captive audience and a time to focus. And it could be that at that point you read the Bible. For some children, some of these stories are quite familiar, and it's really helpful for them and for us as well to break it open and show it in a slightly different light to one that they've seen it in before. So starting off with some sort of a personal example or some sort of question that feels a bit like a bit of a surprise or a shock can be quite helpful. So I was going to suggest with the stories that we've got here a surprising question that you might want to bring before you read the story, just to give it an edge of interest and intrigue. So that's the second thing. Read the story and chew on that together as a family in whatever way again is appropriate for your children. And then the third component I was going to suggest for a family church time is maybe each week pray for one person and ask God for words of encouragement and blessing for them. So you can have a time when you sit quietly for 30 seconds or so and say, God, speak to us. And for this person here, we'll do a different person in the family each week. This person here, encourage them and do a mixture of speaking from your heart, how you feel about that person, and bring in as well what you sense God is saying to them as well. And I think it can be as simple as that. It can be just as simple as those three things. It's a separate and a special time around food. You look at the Bible together, and you pray. And I'd encourage you to be vulnerable and to be honest yourself. That is so powerful in communicating to children that this is real. And so I'm going to move on now. I've got a suggestion for 4 weeks of some content that you could use for your family church. And again, do this as is appropriate for your setting. You know your children and the best way of doing that with you. God has called you to raise your children. Isn't it amazing that he trusts us to do this? So apply this in whatever way is appropriate. These 4 weeks are kind of, my suggestion here is they're all based on the question of who God is and what is he like. And they come out of some of Jesus' encounters with people. But that's massive for us. We have all of these subtle ideas and perceptions of what God is like, some of which are true and right, and some of which are wrong. And they really have a massive impact on how we live our lives, on how we see people, how we relate to people, how we relate to God. They affect everything. So it's such a good use of time to spend some time looking at who really is God, who really is Jesus, and what is he really like. So 4 stories here, and you could use one of these each week. I suggest that you start off with a challenging question of some sort. The The first one, and it depends which sort of Bible you use. This one here, from Luke 18 verse 15, is when the children come and see Jesus. This is in the Jesus Storybook Bible for younger children. It's also here in the Action Bible, or you might have other Bibles that you use. So it's Luke 18:15 in the Action Bible. It's page 607. And I guess the kind of key feature here of this story is Jesus is being interrupted, and you could ask the children, how do I respond when I'm in the middle of something and you interrupt me? That's quite a vulnerable question. They might think of a time when you were just totally inappropriate. You totally didn't make space for them. And that's great to recognise that. It's great to say, yeah, I'm sorry. And then you can go in and look at Jesus. And maybe you could ask about their teacher. What does their teacher do at school when you interrupt them? What are they like? And if they're really good, then it's great. They're really displaying the character of God in the way that they're being. So that's a suggestion for the first week. Have a look at that time when Jesus has the little children come to him. His disciples try to get rid of them quite fast, but he welcomes them. Next one is Zacchaeus, Luke chapter 19, and here it is in the Jesus Storybook Bible. In the Action Bible, it is on page 609, and you can find it in another Bible as well. And my kind of question here was, so no one really likes Zacchaeus, and you could say, who in your school or your class, who amongst your friends does no one really like? And that's quite or who's the most popular person? And you can get under the skin of some stuff. Maybe remember a time of, even when you're at school, some hard times. A lot of us have been bullied at some point in our school time. Were you bullied? Is that something you can say to your kids and share what that was like for you? Again, that's an opportunity, I think, to be vulnerable there as you look, and then just see how Jesus treated that person that no one else liked, no one else wanted anything to do with. So that's week 2. Suggestion is week 2, looking at Zacchaeus. So we see week 1, we see how Jesus just loves children. God loves children. Week 2, Jesus goes to people who no one else likes. And then week 3, we've got the prodigal son here. So this is Luke chapter 15, and that's in the Action Bible as well. And let's just find that one. Where is it? Yeah, in the Action Bible, that is on page 601. So that's Luke chapter 15. And I guess there you've got the two sons, haven't you? One who's really good, really well behaved, does everything right, and the other one who's the rebellious son. And why don't you say that again? You could ask that question about your children's friends at school. Who are the naughty people in your class? Who are the people that do everything right? How about you? What were you like when you were at school? As in talking to yourself, as in parents. I was naughty at school. I remember leaving primary school and thinking back with some regret how I could have got away with a lot more without getting expelled. Share some of these insights to make it personal, make it real. So that's Luke chapter 15, prodigal son, suggestion for the third week, and it's showing how God loves us regardless of what we do. He's a good father. And then the fourth suggestion is, and this is all part of the Last Supper kind of time. It's John 13, 1-17, and it's in the Jesus Story Bible. It's the servant king. In the Action Bible, it is on page 619, and that is where Jesus washes his disciples' feet. And your opener could be here. What's the worst job you could ever do? You could ask the children, what job would you hate to do? What's the dirtiest thing you could ever think of doing? Or maybe you could share that as well. What's the worst job that you've ever had to do? Maybe you could even, I don't know, do a disgusting job before and just say, guess what I've just done, guys? And then you could look at this, and the suggestion there is that looking at Jesus washing his disciples' feet, how he's a servant and he comes in a way. He doesn't come and dominate us and take over, but he takes a really low place. So that's a suggestion for those 4 weeks, looking at those 4 different encounters with Jesus, and I think that would be such rich time to chew that over. My suggestion again, as I said, was do this over a meal, make the meal different in some way. Start by really thanking God for the good things in your life, then move into a teasing question. Look at the Bible. and chew the table together, and then finish by praying for one person. And this is something that you can carry on in the life after COVID. I think we really want to carry on our family church in life after COVID. And this is a kind of setting that actually you can bring along your friends, your children's friends to, can't you? And say, come and join us in our special family church meal. And this is what we do. We light a candle, or we have this special drink that we drink as part of it, and we thank God for stuff, and we hear our parents say these really embarrassing things that they did, or some really silly things that they did, and then we read the Bible, and then we bless each other. And you're our guest in our home today, so we want to ask God to encourage you. And what a brilliant way of carrying that on in life after COVID, wouldn't that be? So I hope those are helpful. We're learning as a church how to do this, and this is an incredible opportunity through COVID to grow as families, to grow stronger in our faith, to grow closer together. And so do share with us everything that you're finding and growing in.